Welcome back, everybody, to the Even Your Dynasty show. I am back from assignment. Thanks, Dan and Ricky, for holding it down last week, getting everybody a couple of videos. We are back with our weekly minor league update. There are going to be quite a few names on this, kind of highlighted by the 2024 draft class, who the first three picks right now have been playing really well to start the season. So we'll definitely be getting to them. They'll be a little bit later in the show. But we're going to run through level by level. I always try and get at least all of the top 30. These are as ranked by Baseball America. There'll be others that I add in, guys that I, feel like they maybe just missed it, former top prospects, guys that have a lot of upside in some capacity, guys that, in Sacramento, some guys that I feel like could potentially contribute in the next year or two, even if they aren't like a super highly rated prospect, just to like kind of let people know how those guys are doing. So yeah, we're gonna kind of run level by level. I'll add the chapters in the bottom for anybody that wants to just skip ahead. But without any further ado, we're going to start off with Sacramento, who went 4-2 versus Tacoma. They are now 8-7 on the season, highlighted by number 2 prospect Marco Luciano, who went 6 for 26 with 2 home runs, a double, 4 walks, and 9 strikeouts. He had been struggling hard. I mentioned in the very first video we did this, he had, his at bat quality looked good. He was being aggressive. He was hitting the ball hard. He was just kind of finding gloves. And then the strikeouts started piling up. Last week struck out a bunch. Even this week, 9 strikeouts in like 30 plate appearances. It's not exactly ideal. But hard contact is back. Hit a couple over the fence. Actually pulled one, just an absolute moonshot. I mean, it's balls like that kind of are why people have been so high on him for so long. And good opposite field home run. They were both kind of late in games. The second one actually tied the game. So, it was a good sign to see from him. Hopefully he can build on this. He's historically been a very streaky player. We'll see. Maybe he goes on one of his runs. I mean, he's had these power surges in the past where he'll suddenly hit, 7, 8 home runs in like a 3-week period. So we'll see if he can build off it. But really nice week overall from him this past week. The number 3 prospect, Carson Whisenhunt, 3 1/3, 4 earned runs, 8 hits, a walk, 3 strikeouts, threw 79 pitches, 53 for strikes. He was in the zone, which is a good sign because one of the things that he struggled with in the past is the walks will start piling up. And so when you see the line, the 4 earned runs and only 3 1/3, he wasn't super efficient, you kind of would expect that, he was falling behind a lot of hitters, walking a lot of guys, yada, yada. But no, he just kind of got knocked around. And it happens. Sometimes he gets hit. That's every pitcher in baseball has had those outings where sometimes they just get knocked around. So rough outing for him. You don't really want to do it at Tacoma. It's one of the more friendly yards that you're going to get to face or pitch in for the PCL. But, is what it is. Hopefully we can, he's had 2 good starts to start the year. Then he had this one. Hopefully, we'll see him bounce back in this coming week. Number 7 prospect, Grant McCray, went 6 for 20, a double, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, 3 stolen bases. The strikeout rate was a bit more manageable this past week. Still a bit higher than we want. He's been floating around 30% on the year. I know it's something that they're really trying to focus on for him. Positive, though, he did get an extra base hit. He didn't have one the first 9 games of the year. He did get one this week. The 3 stolen bases, I think that's a really, good sign for me. That's something we want to see a lot out of McCray is he needs to use his legs. So those are going to be kind of the 2 main things. We want to see the stolen bases and we want to see the strikeout rate get down with Grant McCray because we all know he has kind of the rest of the toolbox there. The speed obviously is there, the defense, arm. He has the pop. I imagine that will show at some point, even though it hasn't yet. But the speed, we want to see him being back to 40, 50 stolen base a year guy. And we need to see the strikeout rate get into like the 25% range. He needs to get it into a manageable range because otherwise it's going to be really difficult for him to stick in the majors at any point if he's striking out 30, 40% of the time. So overall, nice week, though, from Grant. Number 8 prospect, Trevor McDonald, pitched in 2 games, 8 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, 5 hits, 2 walks, 11 strikeouts. Fastball slider combination was really good for McDonald. I guess you call it a slider, curve, gyro, whatever you want to call it, but it was really good drawing whiffs out of opposing hitters. Yeah, I've said for a while he could probably pitch in a major league bullpen right now. His stuff is really good. He has pretty solid control overall. He's not a guy that you really concern yourself with walking a ton of hitters. So, he's on the 40 man. He has another option year after this one. Don't be surprised if we see him at some point though this season. He's been really solid to start off the year. Number 9 prospect Mason Black started 3 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 2 hits, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts through 67 pitches, 41 for strikes. Kind of opposite of last week, kind of battled his command pretty hard this week. Kind of got knocked around a little bit. He only got through 3 innings, so it's hard. You get off to that rough start, and these guys' pitch counts aren't up yet. So you get them in there, and they give up a few early runs, and it's gonna make for a rough slash line. You don't really have a chance to try and do what Landon Roop yesterday did, and that's like grind through a start. So hopefully, we'll see another bounce back next week. The pitching staff overall in Sacramento didn't really have a great week. There was really only like 1 or 2 guys that really threw the ball well in Tacoma. But luckily for the River Cats, the offense actually showed up this last week, so they still won 4 of the games. But number 17 prospect Carson Ragsdale, 5 innings pitched, an earned run, 1 hit, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts, 75 pitches, 47 for strikes. He battled the command a bit, but he pitched around it. I've always said with Ragsdale, I think he could be a really solid bullpen piece. He doesn't have the most repeatable delivery, so you get a lot of walks with him. You look at he's kind of the opposite of Sean Jelly when it comes to really tall pitchers. Sean Jelly, he's 6'11", but he has this like compact, repeatable delivery to home plate. And then you look at Carson Ragsdale, who I don't know how that could possibly be a comfortable at bat for anybody in the box, because he just looks like he's like throwing body parts at people as he throws. It's kind of crazy, but he has nasty stuff. Gets a lot of strikeouts. But with that comes a lot of walks. So I think he'd be an excellent bullpen piece at some point if he can at least just harness the control a little bit. But overall, really good outing against Tacoma this past week. Number 24 prospect Carson Seymour. He threw 5 innings, 1 earned run, 4 hits, 3 walks, and I don't know what it is. Oh, 4 strikeouts. I'm sorry, I couldn't read my notes. 4 strikeouts through 72 pitches, 45 for strikes. Similar to Ragsdale, battled the command a little bit, pitched around it, managed to still throw the ball really well. My notes from the last start, I didn't get to watch every pitch of this one. The previous one I did. 97, 96 mile an hour sink. He kind of floated between 94 and 97. He likes to throw on the hands a lot, and he's mixing in a cutter for lefties. It's really good to see like the way he pitches, kind of old school. He'll go hard on the hands on people, and he's just trying to induce soft contact. Gets a lot of ground balls. His curveball's pretty good, or slider. He gets some whiffs, but the command with it is a bit spotty. Does tend to hang it occasionally. But overall, the fastball, he kind of just goes, hey, I throw 96 on your hands. Go hit it. And he gets a lot of just weak ground balls out of that. Breaks some bats off. So I kind of like the way he pitches. We'll see if we ever really see him in the majors this season. But they did add him to the 40 man. So it's an easy call up for them if they decide to do that. And then Kyle Harrison, now obviously he graduated off the top prospect list, but we will talk about him every start. Kyle Harrison, 3 innings pitched, 6 earned runs, 7 hits, no walks, 5 strikeouts. Through 75 pitches, 52 for strikes. He simply just got knocked around. For the first couple innings, he looked really dominant. And then the third inning, just wheels fell off the bus for him. He gave up a ton of hits. Wasn't walking guys, getting strikeouts. One thing, I'm just going to comment on his stuff. The results are the results for this week, but overall on the stuff, the fastball, it's been 93 to 95. The velo's back to kind of what we were used to. He doesn't really throw 97, 98 anymore. I know some people want to see that. It's just, if he's going to stretch out as a starter, we're probably not going to see that out of Kyle. It's going to be 93 to 95, and he's proven that it can be effective. The one thing I will say, I'm not huge on his changeup, but the slider has looked sharper the last 2 outings. He didn't have the big loopy slurve. It actually looks like it's tightened up a little bit, and he's been getting some swing and misses on it. So that's really encouraging, because I've repeatedly said, as many know, for him to take the next step, he has to get a secondary that can get whiffs, both chases and in the zone. Because right now he is basically a one-pitch guy. Yes, he throws 3 pitches and to varying levels of success, whatever you want to call it. But he didn't really ever get whiffs or chases with his off speed. Almost all of them were generated with his fastball, and it's a very high end fastball performance wise in the majors. And he's shown he can at least have some level of success with just that pitch. But we're talking about a guy that's viewed as like a front end starter potential. That's his ceiling. And for him to reach that, he's going to have to tighten that slider or get just a nasty changeup splitter or whatever to go with his fastball, because he needs to have another pitch so that number one, hitters can't just sit on the fastball all day long. And number two, because he's got to get chases with something else. You're not going to get every guy to go for the high fastball. So um, rough outing overall, but there have been some positive signs that I've seen from his starts early on this season. Brett Wisely, 3 for 23, home run, walk, 6 strikeouts, stolen base. I don't really anticipate we're going to see him anytime soon. Posey's kind of made it pretty clear that like he doesn't want to be Farhan and moving guys up and down like the taxi squad. So I think you're going to see guys like Fitz or Casey Schmidt, Koss get a long rope as the utility guys. And, even that we might not even see a move there unless there's an injury until like Herrera Encarnacion comes back. So, but he had kind of a rough week. Hunter Bishop had a solid week at the plate, 5 for 15, a double, a walk, 3 strikeouts. He's shown some flashes, nothing special this year. He's about hitting like 234, 700 OPS. He's just kind of hanging on. We'll see. I kind of, and I like Hunter. I really like that he's finally healthy and everything. But there's somebody I'm going to talk about when we get to AA that I almost feel like the Giants would be beneficial to move him up, and it would probably eat into Bishop's playing time significantly. So we'll get to that in a minute. And then Basabi, 5 for 23, a home run, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. Similar boat to Wisely. He's depth in the major on the 40 man. So we'll see. And I'm sorry, he's not on the 40 man. But he is depth in the system. That's really kind of more or less what he's here for. Tristan Beck pitched in 2 games, 2 innings pitched, no earned runs, no hits, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. I've said for a while I would rather see him in the pen than Bivens, and that's about all I'm going to leave it at. He's looked pretty solid for the most part in Sacramento. I mean, almost all these guys have had like one rough outing, and it's early in the year, so one outing is going to balloon your numbers. But, overall, he's been pretty solid. Moving over to Richmond, they went 2-4 versus Harrisburg. They are now 2-7 on the year, but don't worry, better days are coming because Bryce Eldridge has been assigned to AA Richmond. He has not played yet, though. He did get put on the 7-day IL. As many are aware, he has been dealing with a wrist injury. It doesn't sound major. He had been playing in simulated games in Arizona. So, he's playing through it right now, but they are trying to wait till it's fully healed to activate him, have him played every day. So, wrist injuries, it's one of those things you definitely should be overly cautious with. Hopefully we do see him soon, though. I'm hoping this week we'll get to see Bryce start playing again, but he has not played yet. But number 10, Richmond is a really good place as far as it's a good watch. The offense actually has quite a few guys that are very interesting offensive prospects. Now, it's the Eastern League. They're not going to put up eye-popping statistics there, but there are a few guys doing pretty well, and we'll get to those. But number 10 prospect, Joe Whitman, 5 innings pitched, earned run, 4 hits, no walks, 4 strikeouts through 79 pitches, 51 for strikes. As many know, he's my favorite left-handed pitching prospect in the system, and has one of my favorite pitch mixes in the system. He has a very underused changeup that is pretty, it's very underrated, and I think he should use it more. But mainly mid-90s sink, low to mid-90s sink, and he has just a vicious slider that he will throw in any count and get chases, steal strikes, get tons of whiffs. It's a nasty pitch. It's one of the better pitches in the system, his slider. So he had it working in this outing. All of his strikeouts came on the slider. It was his first AA outing. He could be a pretty fast mover, but the unfortunate thing for him, even if he's off to just a roaring start and dominates AA, AAA is pretty packed up right now with starting pitching and pitching prospects. So some food for thought. At some point, Buster Posey is probably going to need to look into trading some young pitchers to try and like bolster their position player group, even in the major leagues. But that's a problem for later. The team's 12-4. We'll see kind of what they end up doing there. Number 13 prospect Diego Velasquez went 5 for 21, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, and a stolen base. Off to a decent start on the year. He has been, hitting the ball pretty well. Not a ton of extra base power. That's pretty normal for Diego. He doesn't have huge pop. He's going to really need to be kind of a line-to-line, line drive guy. Hopefully, he adds a little bit of strength. He's still only 21 years old. At some point, I would say we would want to see him add a little strength so he can at least drive the ball into the gaps a little better. Probably will never hit more than like 5 or 7 home runs in a season at any point, and that's fine if you can be a high average guy with a really good glove, which he does have at second base. So, and he has some plus speed. I think he stole like 17 bags last season. So, many Diego is one of my favorite prospects in the system. He's off to a pretty solid start overall. Number 16 prospect, the guy I said I was most excited to see in his new level, has not let me down. Sabine Ceballos, 8 for 20, 3 doubles, 4 walks, and 4 strikeouts last week. He hits the ball hard, and he hits the ball hard to all fields. And I said many times that I think he could be very successful, even in the Eastern League, which is super hard to do. And so far this year, he has. So hopefully he keeps that up. But he's got really just an intriguing blend of tools. Like, he does play third base, and he's kind of talked about him at first base. He's probably blocked at both positions realistically going forward. At some point, I know many people have kind of posed a question, where do you play him if he just continues to, rip through the system and play as well as he has? And I file it under the good problems to have category. It's something that, realistically, they probably have to move him to like left field or something like that down the road, but we'll figure that out if he keeps, hitting the snot out of the ball. So, but really good week from him. Good to see. Number 26 prospect, Trent Harris, 1 2/3 innings and 0 earned runs, 1 hit, 1 strikeout, no walks. He's dominant. His stuff is gross. He has good command. It's one of those things. He has really good stuff and really good command. And usually those guys move really fast through the system. There are a lot of probably major league ready pitchers in AAA. And I still would not be surprised if Trent Harris gets a promotion to AAA pretty early in the year and actually jumps most of those guys into San Francisco. I think his stuff is that good. My prediction before the year was that he would debut this season. I'm standing by it. He's just a really good pitcher that to me is not far off from being major league ready, even though he is currently in AA. His just combination of stuff and command screams guy that's going to just blast up to the system. So keep an eye on him. He is 26 years old, but on the older side, so probably part of why he is a bit more polished. But keep an eye out. Number 27 prospect, Averson Arteaga, 2 for 17, a walk, 5 strikeouts. Glove first player. This is his first kind of dip into AA. We'll see how it goes. He has shown an intriguing pop in the past. Did miss most of last season with thoracic outlet syndrome. We'll see how he does, but very excellent glove at shortstop. But the bat, we're probably going to see some struggles in AA for sure. Number 28 prospect, Jack Choate, went 3 innings pitched, 5 earned runs, 7 hits, a walk, 5 strikeouts through 66 pitches, 44 for strikes. Another guy that, he threw strikes for the most part, just kind of got knocked around. Rough outing. He had a really dominant first outing last week. This was a rough one, bouncing back from that. But we'll see how he does. Lefty has kind of that lazy arm delivery, low sidearm. Still pumps it mid 90s, and then it has a really nice breaking ball. But we'll see. Not super highly touted, but I like his stuff. He's definitely a really intriguing prospect, and we'll see kind of as he keeps growing. Jairo Pomares. Now, this is the guy that, in my opinion, it is time to get him up to AAA. And a lot of people are going to go, "Oh my God, it's been like 9 games in AA." But he did play almost his entire last season in AA. Now, he was hurt early in the year. He didn't play until like early May, but then he did finish the year out in Richmond. So I would personally like to see him up in Sacramento. He, has this enormous power. I mean, when you look at left-handed power in the Giant system, and really probably just raw power in general, he might have the second most power in the system, like game power behind Bryce Eldridge. His He hits some balls that are just majestic out of the yard. Two of them this last week. One of them opposite field, went left center, hit it a mile, just kind of looked like it disappeared in the night. And then the other one, following day, he comes up and he turns on one that I think hit the scoreboard. I mean, it was just this moonshot to right field. And he just generates huge bat speed. Now, some people might not take this as a compliment, but I look at his swing, kind of reminds me a little bit of Jason Hayward, especially when you saw him earlier in his career with Atlanta, where it's a little bit upright, big build. You can tell this guy is just big, strong, kind of taller, and he just generates so much bat speed through the ball. And it's just kind of like what Jason Hayward did when he was in Atlanta. Um, Now, Hayward battled strikeouts. Hyro's battled strikeouts. Definitely not the player defensively that Hayward was, but I do feel like he can be, he should be ready to go up to Sacramento soon. He is 24 years old, so he's starting to get a little bit on the older side, and I think they should try and get an idea on how close he is because they may have to make a 40-man decision next season. So something to keep an eye out for. But he did go 6 for 20 with 2 home runs, a double, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. Victor Barracoto, he was a guy that I think myself included, but a lot of people were really excited about last season. And he didn't have the best year, low 700 OPS, only hit, I think, like 10 home runs. This is after hitting like 27 the previous year. But 7 for 23. He had a 2 home run day, 4 walks, 3 strikeouts. Hopefully he busts out. I mean, he generated some pretty crazy exit velocities 2 years ago and definitely has very intriguing power. So keep an eye on him. Isn't really known as a top prospect anymore after the year he had last season, but he is still pretty young. I believe he's 23, and he also has the power to really still have success in the Eastern League. He can handle those big parts. He's shown it at times in his time in Double A because he did finish 2023 in Double A and then played all of last season. And now he's there early on. So hopefully he doesn't stall out in Double A. I do like his potential, and hopefully we'll see him in SAC later in the year. Will Bednar, now that's a former top prospect, been in the bullpen, 1 2/3 innings, no earned runs, no hits, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. Command, 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 command. That's what it is for Will. He's not going to be a starter anymore. I think all the back injuries kind of just ended that dream that he was ever going to develop into like a really good starting pitcher. And it's a bummer because at the time they made the pick, it made a lot of sense. He had good stuff. At the time, he didn't really battle the command like he has in pro ball. But then he had all these back injuries, robbed him of a year and a half or so of playing time. Now he's just kind of a forgotten piece in the system, but his stuff is still so good. I mean, he's throwing kind of like his brother. He's pumping like mid to upper 90s. Really good changeup, really good slider. Can get whiffs with almost any pitch he throws. It just comes down to the command because he sometimes just walks too many guys, falls behind every other hitter, and you get knocked around. No matter how good your stuff is, you're going to get knocked around if you're consistently pitching behind in counts. So that's what we need to see out of him, but had a really good outing this past week. Adrian Sugaste, 2 for 10, a home run, 2 walks, and a strikeout. Also hosed a guy at second base. One of the better catcher prospects currently in the system. That's kind of an indictment on the Giants system when it comes to catching depth, but really solid defensively. Like this is a guy that if his bat can just come along a little bit, maybe get to where he can hit lefties a little bit better. He has potential to be a really solid backup catcher in Major League Baseball. And the Giants need one of those. I mean, Huff's struggling early on. I'm not giving up on, Sam Huff or anything, but it is something they should be really looking to develop until they find somebody that can cement themselves in that role to support Bailey better. So, but the home run he did hit was pretty impressive. It was a tank. Eugene Emeralds, they went 3-3 versus Tri-Cities. They are now 4-5 on the season. Some really standout performances in Eugene, but James Tibbs, third, the number 4 prospect in the system, went 4 for 20 with a double, 4 walks, 5 strikeouts, 2 stolen bases. The walk to strikeout ratio, he's got about a 2-to-1 walk to strikeout ratio going right now. Really promising. When I looked, I think 2 days ago, and now this has dropped a little bit since, but he was floating around a 1300 OPS for his right-handed pitching. I know the big questions with James Tibbs. The main ones I've heard are, how are, the tools overall, because they felt like it's a high floor player, low ceiling. Um, a lot of people aren't impressed. They're like, oh, he's not going to steal you a bunch of bags. He's not going to play great defense. He does have a really good arm, good assist arm, but that's kind of the things people said. And they're like, yeah, he's going to have to hit. Well, so far he's hitting. And the other thing I heard was, versus left-handed pitching, super small sample size. He's like 0 for 3 with a walk against lefties. We'll see how that develops. But the big things this year, he's drawn walks. His play discipline's very impressive, very advanced. So he's drawn walks. He's not striking out a lot. He's hitting the ball hard. He's had quite a few extra base hits already. He was hitting like 400 for a week and change. That's come back down to earth. It's going to happen. It's early season, small sample sizes. It's volatile. But the main things I've seen is he's actually looked much better than most of us probably expected in right field. Looks pretty comfortable. Has made some nice sliding grabs, a couple diving catches, tracking down balls pretty well. He's not a mess out there. Like, dare I say, he is a better defender than Michael Conforto, which is actually the guy I kind of comped him to. He's been much better than what we've watched from Conforto over in LA early this year and for really the last 2 years. So yes, he's probably better suited for left field in Oracle Park if he ever gets there, but he's not a train wreck out there. Like, he could really truly be a near average defender with kind of average speed. And yes, he's going to have to hit, but he's showing some signs that, that might be enough for him. He's got the power. He's got the hit tool. We'll see how he grows from here, but really promising start overall from him. Number 14 prospect, Bo Davidson. Kind of some good and bad with him this week. The good, his play on the field, 6 for 22, 2 home runs, 2 doubles, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. He broke out in high A this week, had a big week. The bad, he suffered what looks to be a lower body injury. Appeared like maybe he tweaked his hamstring, going into second base. They actually had to put Tibbs was getting a day off on Sunday. They had to put Tibbs into the game. Hopefully Bo's okay. Hopefully it's not a long-term thing, but don't be shocked if we don't see him for a few weeks. Like I said, it looked like a hammy. He walked off the field, but he was limping pretty good. Number 18 prospect, Josh Bostic. 4 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, a hit, 2 walks, 9 strikeouts, 65 pitches, 42 for strikes. By the way, everyone, with the highlights in Eugene, I'm going to be putting over here, I would love to have shared Bostic's 9 highlights. Eugene desperately needs to fix their center field camera. It is so laggy, so behind. You can't really see much of anything. So I apologize. I'm not really going to be able to have many highlights for Eugene, but he had a great outing overall. Good to see out of Bostic. He has really high upside. The command is a bit all over the place, and that's going to be what may potentially hold him back, but definitely a really intriguing player with the stuff he has. Number 23 prospect, Jonah Cox, 4 for 25, a triple, a double, 2 walks, 10 strikeouts. You're going to see on the triple, he's got some pop. He's got a pretty decent hit tool, but he does strike out way too much, especially since he's got promoted to high A last season. But he can fly. And he's a guy that, maybe he's a little Darren Fordish, where he's not going to hit for a ton of average, ton of power, ton of, this, but he will steal you a ton of bags. But, we'll see. He's definitely intriguing. One of the better defensive players in the system. Can play all 3 outfield positions, can play all of them really well. But, similar to McRae, will he make enough contact? That's what it's going to kind of come down to for him. And he doesn't have the power McRae has. Quinn McDaniel, 3 for 17, a double. It was a big one. It was a walk-off. 4 walks and 7 strikeouts. Off to kind of a slow start, but, like I said, he did have a walk-off double, 2-run double in the 10th inning the other day. Good to see him get a big hit there. Hopefully we'll see him get going. And then Charlie Zacconi, friend of the show, 6 for 22, home run, double, 3 walks, 11 strikeouts. He also had a sac fly, a walk-off sac fly that won their opener on Tuesday last week. The home run went about 440 feet. It was 111 miles per hour off the bat. It is something he mentioned. I shared it on my X account for anybody that saw that or listened to his interview earlier the summer or in the offseason. But he did mention, he's a big guy. He wants to get the ball airborne more. He met with Will Clark, and Will Clark kind of gave him some advice to, get the ball up in the air a little bit more. So it'll be intriguing to see how his season goes. He's got some big time power, as evidenced by the shot he just hit last game. Just hasn't really shown it in the games as much. So we'll see. He's fun though. I love the way he plays. He hustles hard on everything. He hit the home run and he sprinted right around the bags. So it was pretty funny there. But keep an eye on Charlie. Good guy, and had a good week this week. Moving over to San Jose, and I apologize. This is going to be a little bit of a longer video as people are accustomed to for these minor league updates. But moving over to San Jose, they went 6-0 versus Visalia. 6-3 on the season. Got swept by Modesto, swept by Visalia this week. So good to see. But this is where the fun is for me. You look at San Jose, they are such a fun lineup to watch. They have guys up and down that lineup that are just really intriguing prospects and guys to kind of keep an eye out for. The first one, number 6 prospect, Dakota Jordan, who everybody, when they drafted him, you see like 80 grade raw power, 80 grade speed, maybe not, a very raw prospect. Swing and miss, he's definitely shown that. But he's shown some pretty solid discipline. I forgot to write down his strikeouts, so I'm going to apologize for the notes. But he did go 6 for 16 with a home run, a triple, and a double. He hit the ball hard. The home run he hit actually looked like it was almost off his hands. When he hit it, I thought he got jammed. So I was thinking, oh, maybe this is bloops or it's going to just be like a routine fly ball to the center fielder. And it got out of center field in San Jose, which is no joke, over the batter's eye. So he's got insane power. I'd love to see him get the ball up in the air a little bit more. He has kind of hit the ball down in the dirt quite a bit, or like low line drives. That's me being a little nitpicky. The reality is when you have the power he has, you'd like to see a little bit more of that. But on the flip side, he's got a ton of speed. So he can use his legs as a weapon. He can beat you in a lot of ways. Made some good plays in center field, kind of bouncing him around the outfield because they do also have another player that I'm going to talk about that plays a lot of center field. But overall, really solid start. He was a guy that I think a lot of us were like, okay, feels like he's either going to be a star or flame out early because the swing and miss, the swing decisions, things like that. But overall, it's been super exciting to watch him. That he is an electric player. But early on, we'll see how it develops. But good start for him. Number 20 prospect Robert Hipwell, 4 for 17, 2 doubles, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. Both doubles probably missed being home runs by less than a few feet. Has a really nice, compact power stroke from the left side. And that was a theme last draft. We all talked about it. They went and got a ton of power in the system. But Hipwell, we'll see if he can start breaking out a little bit. He's a local guy, went to Santa Clara, came over. He was the first guy to report to San Jose of the group of guys they drafted last season. We'll see how his season goes, but he's definitely got some really intriguing pop and did hit a few balls pretty hard. Number 22 prospect, Jose Ortiz, 6 for 19, a double, 5 walks, 2 strikeouts, and a stolen base. He's the other guy that plays center field. And I've said this about a few guys. He also might be the best defensive center fielder in the system. They've got a lot of them. This is a team that a few years ago felt like we had nothing in center field in the system. You had kind of Von Brown and McRae, and that was about it. And they were both very questionable, sets of tools. Now they have Lee in the major leagues, which is awesome. And then in the system, they've just got dudes that can defend in center field up and down the system, which is great to see. But he had a nice week overall. That's probably why Jordan and him are going to be kind of split in time in center. Although I will say Ortiz is the better defender currently. So we'll just kind of see how they develop. But really nice start to his year. Jacob Bresnahan, number 25 prospect, 4 innings pitched, 4 earned runs, 4 hits, 4 walks, 3 strikeouts. He did it's kind of documented so far. He did a lot of offseason work, improving his stuff, and he hasn't improved the command yet, though. So that's something we're going to need to see. He was the guy they got for Alex Cobb with the deal with Cleveland last season. We'll see how he develops. Rough start to the year. Has had a rough go of it with the command. Hopefully that improves, but it's early. I'm not going to overreact to a couple outings. Number 29 prospect, Lisbel Diaz, 8 for 25, a home run, a double, a walk, 6 strikeouts, and a stolen base. He kind of started looking like the guy we saw at times last season. Lots of power, especially pull side, really drives the ball well. But he dominated the complex league, got to San Jose, struggled a bit last season, did flash the power and everything. Off to a solid start this season. He is only, I think, 19, so younger guy. I think he's from Cuba, one of the international signees a couple years ago. We'll see kind of how he develops, but he really opened some eyes last season. Hopefully this year he keeps the momentum up and just has another good year. Now the guy that really just flashed the power up and down the week last week had 8 RBIs too, which led the team. Jacob Christian, 5th round pick from this past year. If you want to hear his interview, it's in the channel here with us. 6 for 23, 2 home runs, 3 doubles, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. Again, guy from last season, big time power. He's like 6'5", huge power stroke. I liked seeing that both his home runs came to left field. It is something that he did mention, when he was with us, and something I did notice watching him last year. A lot of the ones he drives do go to right field, right center. That could be difficult in Oracle. Now, he has the confidence that he can still hit it out even to that part of the yard at Oracle as a righty, but realistically, you got to show a little bit more on the pull side, and he did that this past week. Big time power, though. Gonna come with some strikeouts. He's 6'5". It's kind of like a Derek Lee build for those of you that remember him. But he had a great week. We'll see how it goes. Him and Dakota have been hitting back to back, and it's must watch in San Jose right now. Walker Martin went 5 for 19 with a triple, a double, a walk, 10 strikeouts. Still battling kind of the strikeout issues with him. He's gonna have to get that under control. He did hit some balls hard this week. If he does not have a game built for 2 strikes. Like, I don't know if he's just struggling with pitch recognition or what, but there's just a lot of whiff in his game right now, and that's going to have to change fast. And I would preach patience with him. I think everyone knew when they drafted him, he was known, and the Giants knew this. He was known as an extremely raw prospect. So the level of competition in Colorado is not as high as other states, but and he was a bit on the older side for a high school prospect. So I definitely understand some questions. I would have some questions as far as taking him in the second round versus a little bit later. But the reality is that's what you'd had to do to get him to not commit, not go through with his commitment to Alabama. And it's a rough start. It's a rough look. I'm not out on him. I don't give up on guys that quick. But he has got to get the strikeouts under control. It's just plain and simple. He did leave the game on Sunday, though. It appeared due to injury. Hopefully it's nothing major. I don't have any information because good old Miners doesn't really provide that stuff very well. Carlos Gutierrez, 7 for 22, a triple, 2 doubles, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, and 2 stolen bases. Another outfield prospect, young international guy. He's off to a really nice start. Keep an eye out for him. Pretty nice swing, though. We'll just kind of see where it goes from there. I've only been able to watch him for about 30 at bats, so I don't really have strong opinions on some of these guys yet. As I see more, I'll kind of dive deeper into what I see in their game. But he's off to a really good start. He's been swinging well, leading off most games. So top of the order, been doing work. Jeremy Maldonado, 3 innings pitched, no earned runs, 3 hits, a walk, 7 strikeouts, 49 pitches, 36 for strikes. He absolutely dominated on, I think it was Sunday, and touched 101 with his fastball, and then had his slider is really good, and he has pretty good command with it. So I know sometimes the command has been a bit spotty for him in the past, but at least in this outing, it looked really good. He could be a quick riser, at least up to Eugene. Don't be shocked. He is 21, so a bit older for San Jose. We'll kind of just have to keep an eye on him. I think you're going to see him in Eugene before too long. And same with Greg Ferrone, 4 innings pitched, 0 earned runs, 3 hits, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts, 56 pitches, 41 for strikes. Really, really good game. Sorry, left-handed pitcher out of Alabama. Fastball, low mid 90s, but good command with it. some really solid breaking pitches. He just attacked hitters. I like the way he went about it. Definitely think you're going to see him move through San Jose pretty quickly, because some of these college guys, they'll start in San Jose and you're going to see the quick rise up to high A, because realistically, for some of them, depending on like the schools they were at and things like that, the level of competition is pretty comparable in A ball that it was for some of them in college. So we'll see. I think you're going to see him move a little bit quick, but he had a really good start to his season as well as first start of the year for him. Other than that, that's all I got for this week for the minors. A lot of people, if there are more people that you guys want to hear about, drop them in the comments. I'll let you know what I think or what I've seen so far. I can't cover everyone. Otherwise, this is already running at 40 minutes. This video would be like 2 hours long if I try to cover every single player. So anybody in particular you want to hear about, like I said, drop it in the comments. We'll make sure we do that. But if you do enjoy the content, if you made it all the way to here, if you enjoy it, do please like the video, subscribe to the channel. It means a lot for channel growth. We will be going live probably Friday night this week, after the game in LA. Maybe we'll do it Thursday, since Thursday will be a day game. It might be a little easier for us to do that instead of trying to do a show during the live or during the game in LA. So let us know what you guys think. If you'd rather us do one after, the night, Thursday night after everything, or if you would want to do us or want us to do one that might be taking place during the game and you'll get some live reactions and stuff like that. It'd be kind of fun. So let me know your guys' thoughts. Other than that, catch you guys next time. Go Giants. Hopefully they can beat Philadelphia again. Off to an awesome start. We'll definitely put out a video in the next couple days talking a little bit more about the big club. Lots to talk about. They've been awesome. So take it easy, guys.